Okay, for the intro of this show, I have a special guest, but there's going to be no video for just the intro. That way I protect the identity of this guest, but enjoy. So I have a little guest here, and he's going to share with us the story of Christmas. Hey, so what is the story of Christmas?
I don't. Yeah, bringing presents.
What? Say that again?
Bringing presents.
Bringing presents. What type of presents?
Blue and yellow.
Blue and yellow.
And orange and red.
Oh, but remember we talked about the true meaning of Christmas. Remember, it's not necessarily about the presents. Remember that show we watched yesterday?
Yeah.
What did they say about Christmas? What is Christmas really about?
I don't know.
Remember? It's about love, right? Helping other people, right? Remember how they helped those people because that family didn't have anywhere to go?
Okay.
Remember that?
No.
Yeah. It's about Jesus, isn't it?
No.
So, was Jesus a big guy or a little baby during Christmas time?
A big guy.
A big guy?
Uh-huh.
No, during Christmas. Is he a baby or is he a big guy? Is he grown up or is he a baby?
He's a baby.
That's right. He's a baby. Yep. And who's his mommy?
Mary.
Yep, that's right. Good job. Well, can you just say, Daddy's going to continue doing some of his podcast today. You want to say hello to everyone?
Yeah.
All right. Say it right there. Speak right there. Say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Good job, bud. Love you. Mwah.
Could you sit still? Could you sit still when your friends have given up on hope? They're giving up on hope. I have to search for the movers.
Okay, so that yeah. That was my oldest, and he, as you can tell, he's a major cutie. He's very, very fun. And it just goes to show that even I have plenty of room for growth for being a better parent and teaching him to better understand the story of Christmas. I mean, we've talked about it a good amount, but you know, sometimes just other things stick in a 3-year-old's head. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I didn't expect it to turn out that way. I was really thinking, yeah, he's gonna say it right. And yep. Yeah. So all right. So today you could probably hear in the background kids screaming. That's probably very normal. There's, we have 3, and our baby today he's quite fussy and wanting to be held. He's crying a lot. So if you hear that in the background, just know, that's okay. I'm okay with it, and I know you'll be okay with it. And plus, that kind of leads on to what I wanted to talk about today, and that is about Christmas. Obviously, I mean, last week we talked a little bit about it, but I want to share with you an aspect of Christmas that is often overlooked and has to do with family. I was just talking about family, and that's where I want to segue into this, is that aside from the Christmas story being a lot about love, about God sending us his son so he can come to earth and do these great things for us, that the story, if you look at the actual story and what took place about the story of Christmas, there's a lot of interesting aspects to consider. You have a father, a mother, and a child, and they're in poverty, really, and they're homeless. They have to travel back to the land where they're not even really from, but their ancestors are from, just because the government's requiring them to do that. And it's a very arduous journey, especially for someone who is almost 9 months pregnant. And you have the example of faith and of perseverance, grace, and fortitude. They endure the trials of crossing this landscape, and also they endure other trials like being subject to other people's criticisms and judgment, because not many people probably didn't understand, Mary's case. They probably just figured that she had messed around and gotten pregnant, and for Joseph to be so committed to keep her and to still marry her. Yes, he had an angel speak to him, but for him to still do so despite what other people might say, I mean, that's a lot of strength. For him to decide, okay, I'll be a part of this, and I'll accept this child as my own. I'll adopt it. When this child is someone who's you would feel totally unqualified to parent. You also have the example of commitment, care, and love. I mean, there's a lot of love in this. Sorry, I already said the word commitment, but care. You have a lot of care because you have a couple who are trying to find somewhere to stay the night, and the baby's coming, and all they can have to rest their heads in is this grotto, is this stall where animals are kept. It's very humbling. It's a very humbling example to us of this family that endures so much, but yet they handle it so well. They don't complain. They don't murmur. They just take it in stride with a lot of faith, with a lot of trust in God. And even beyond the story of when Jesus is born, it's even longer, because at some point you have them. They have to flee. They have to become refugees to go to Egypt because they fear for Jesus's life, and then they come back to their homeland, but they can't even be safe where they want to settle down, so they go over to Nazareth because they fear Herod's son, who is now in rule. And this whole time, you just have this family who, I mean, traveling back then, they're on foot. They maybe have one donkey, and they're going great distances, and they go through so much, but they're committed to each other to weather the storms together. And as one who has a family of my own, and all of us come from a family of some sort, we always weather through different trials. We go through different hardships, and this is something that the world, really, that modern culture, popular culture, and society don't teach us. They always try to teach us, how to be, our own individual, and how what is normal just isn't enough for an individual who's really going to be great. The greatest individuals I can think of throughout all of history are individuals who are very committed to their families. Even George Washington, he's someone that I talk about a lot, I quote a lot. When I read this year his biography, I was impressed at how much of a family man he was. And it was just amazing. Even though he himself could not have children, he adopted, he fathered the children of his wife, who she had with another man, but her husband died, and so they got married, and he just took them under his wing. And then after those children passed away, they did so with their grandchildren and also other children that were just brought to them. It was amazing to see how much of a family man he was, how much he loved and cared and really looked after other people, especially people he considered family. I think of just all sorts of examples out there. The people who have done the greatest things that we should emulate, that we should be striving to be more like, that we should appreciate more, are not those examples where people, maybe became super rich and famous and sacrificed so much, because a lot of times those people sacrifice their own families and the relationships that matter most to get there. We focus so much on the individual when really society is about the family. It's about everyone else, not the individual. though our rights and everything that we do when it comes to government and how we handle the government and protecting our natural rights does come down to the individual. We have to care extremely about the individual and the individual's rights. We don't try to become a collective in our rights, but individuals. When it comes to having a moral and happy and civil society, we have to then look beyond ourselves. We can be rest assured that our liberties are safe and protected. We have such a government. And then look beyond ourselves and see those in need and help those other people. There's a lot of a power to the story of Christmas. If we would really let that enter our hearts as a nation, I mean, that would do a lot of great things for us. If we were to truly understand, even if you aren't a Christian and you're taught the story of Christmas to better understand it, maybe to just better understand why all these people who are your friends or acquaintances or just a fellow citizens celebrate this and why is it important to them, you can appreciate the good things about it. We can all learn to appreciate things of other people's cultures and beliefs, religions that are separate from our own, and that provides a opportunity to have greater unity and to become more refined. We need to become more refined, without a doubt. So that's my spiel on Christmas. Now, like usual, I love to share about what I'm reading. I actually just finished a book called Code Talker by Chester Nez. I forgot his name for a moment. By Chester Nez. And he is the one of the original 29 code talkers, the Navajo code talkers from World War II. He's actually the only one who wrote a memoir, had one written, firsthand account from him about what happened. That was a fantastic story. I actually really enjoyed it. I really didn't know anything about the code talkers other than the fact that, okay, World War II, they used Navajo language. So that way the Japanese couldn't figure out what they're saying. But I didn't know anything else beyond that. It was really interesting because you get his whole story, really. Even though the focus is World War II, you get before World War II and after World War II. And it was amazing to see how someone who endured so much, endured atrocities at the hands of his own government, would be willing to fight for his country. That his patriotism, his love for his nation was beyond the evil deeds, the atrocious actions of a few. And you know what? That really struck a chord with me because we get so much into identity politics that all we want to do is we just want to focus upon wrong things and how we've been wronged and how we can use that to leverage our position to have the ability to obtain more things of what we want, that we are supposing to be rights. And most of us don't actually experience any of those inequities. It's really, usually it has to do with what happened in the past to our ancestors or someone else. And yet we try to make it our own. We instead of doing what we can with what we've got and making the best of our situation, we like to hold on to the past and make ourselves seem so awful. And like we need to constantly be indebted to other people for someone else's sins, for someone else's poor behavior. It was just amazing that he could go through that. I mean, he talked about that one of the things that they went through that his people consider really big is during the Great Depression. FDR decided to create a program so that there'd be more jobs with farming, there'd be more farmlands to use, and so they started to target the reservation area where he's from. And at the time, the Native Americans they would raise flocks of sheep and lots of animals, and their wealth was measured by that, and they did so for generations. And the government came by and reduced everyone's flocks, all their livestock, by a certain degree because they wanted to stop the overgrazing of the land, and they literally had like 90% of their sheep burned alive. To go through that and to be so demoralized in that way and to lose motivation to want to try because everything you worked for and your family worked for just got destroyed. That it's amazing that he can go through that and still volunteer, like want to be a part of supporting his nation in defeating its enemies and keeping America safe. There is greater patriotism in the unlikely examples, and we should seek them out. I highly recommend you read this book. It's not one of those normal historical books where a historian wrote it and they give you all the context and all these amazing little ideas and stories in there that create a more vivid picture. There is context in it, but it really is just a normal human being telling his experience. And that's incredible enough. So I definitely recommend reading that. And actually, I do have to say, many people don't know this because I'm extremely pale, but my grandfather is Sioux. He's Native American. He's actually a descendant from the Princess Ekalaka of one of the tribes up in near Montana, South Dakota area, and he's never told me much about his life. Most of what I know about him, I know from my dad. My grandpa doesn't talk too much. It's not that he's trying to hide anything. He's just not much of a talker, which is, from what I'm understanding more and more, tends to be very normal Native American behavior, especially Sioux. My wife is Sioux, and I've noticed that in her family that they tend to be a lot more quiet, stoic sort of stuff, and that's what my grandpa's like. Because I didn't know much about it. But learning this story about Chester Nez and the Navajo Code Talkers, it was just like I felt like I was starting to better understand my own grandfather and kind of what it was like for him, especially growing up, because my grandfather, he herded sheep too. He and his brother would be out there, they took care of them, and they were super young, doing it all by themselves. And to hear, that's what Chester did growing up as a kid too. He shares a lot of those stories. I actually felt like I was connecting more with my own grandfather, and it was it was a really neat experience to kind of have almost that experience by proxy. So, anyways, I hope you have a great Christmas. I'll be back next week. Christmas is on Monday, and this is going to be great. But don't forget, the true story of Christmas is about love. It's about Jesus Christ. It's about really doing for other people what they can't do for themselves. It has a lot to do with family too. And don't get discouraged even when your kids don't remember that message, even though you try sharing it with them daily. I mean, really, my wife and I feel like we've been doing putting in a pretty good effort and trying. And he still said, Christmas is about presents. But anyways, if you liked what you heard, hit that like button. I really appreciate you listening to this. Subscribe, follow. You can get more content at alexspicer.com. Also, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. Nope, I totally lost it. So maybe I'll forget. Maybe I'll remember it later. Right now I forgot. But live free until next time, and I'll see you all next week.